some people all good about it.
Oh, this is hardware, man. A-B-O. Got the Latin American camera.
They got some trainers say, and some fighters say, well, I don't watch videos of the guy fighting. I let the coach watch it. Hey, man.
Guys, one thing we know for sure about Wilder, he hit you clean. Right. And this woman whooped the whole world twice. The whole world.
Good morning. Huh?
I didn't make it from my previous appearances.
We'll get you on the cut, man. We got to come up with a new one.
Hey, you shitted on my graphics.
I guess you call me the Dutchman, so I guess I should be wearing a tulip blazer.
Hey, guess what? Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. But man, I'm having to make the graphics, and I made that little intro and shit, bro. I'm like, man, if this boxing thing don't work out, I might go get me a gig at the fucking NBC now.
That's how I feel about my posters and stuff I do for the fights. So.
Your shit is. I think the big thing is. Tell me what you think. I think the big deal with that type of stuff is having a specific identifiable look. And next fight up, man, y'all consistent and I'm trying to learn. So when I figure something else extra, I'm like, well, fuck that old shit. Let's do some new shit. And so I don't have no consistency, but I'm trying, man. I'm gonna put you on that clip.
You evolve.
Yeah, I ain't talking about evolving shit, man. Joe, you've been a friend of the show since the beginning, man. You stuck through with us, man. There was times when we didn't have no internet. The show would cut.
What did I tell you in that first interview? I said, just keep doing it. Every week, put something out.
The show would cut out every 10 minutes, and Joe was faithful to be logged back in and be a part of it, man. So we appreciate that, bro.
Absolutely.
That's some real well, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It's another episode of Soapboxing. Shit, man, that was a big fuck up. So
you don't know the fuck. Hey, when you do big things, the small shit, it don't. The other shit takes precedence. It's easy to do. I call Manny Quentin all the time.
Yeah. It's Soapboxing Podcast, man. We are live. Man, today we got Joey V from Miami. What's up, bro?
What's up?
Yo, Joe from
That's my name. I said it. I don't even say Joe. Wait till I get in trouble next time.
Joe from Next Fight Up, bro. What's going on, man? It's good to have you on the show again.
I need a green shirt, man. I need a green shirt. Triple X.
I got you.
The Next Fight Up.
My man, I'm gonna wear that. Hey, we fighting on Lomachenko undercard. Give me that green shirt I can wear, man. That's my color.
I'll get you. That's October 21st?
17th. 17th.
So, man, we wanted to get you on the show. We've been talking. We've been doing a lot of talking on social media with this whole Canelo and De La Hoya, DAZN controversy, lawsuit, whatever they got going on, and we figured what better guest to get on the show than the lawyer himself. But before we get on to that, man, what's going on with you guys? How's everything at Next Fight Up? What you guys working on? What's y'all's game plan? How y'all dealing with the pandemic?
Well, the game plan changes every day. Right now, we are going out of state, so we are probably going to be in Mississippi in October. We had Erickson Garcia fight on that Mississippi card 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Which, I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was like in a bar room type of situation, but it was a fight. So we're talking with the promoter out there to do our thing out in Mississippi, find the venue that's a little bit bigger. they're allowing crowds. I don't necessarily need a crowd. I mean, it's nice to have a little bit of a gate and have some cheering in there. So I'm putting together the COVID plan to make sure it's safe and we can do a successful show out there. Other than that, Texas, in litigation with Texas, should be filing a lawsuit next week. But because they're a state entity, they have immunity. So I have to supply them sufficient notice per the law, and they got to more or less have a vote whether or not they will let us sue them.
Wow, really?
Permission to sue them.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
What's hey, you think that's the move or what? I mean, you want to get
the only thing they can do. I mean, I've got that. We've been in contact with the Indian tribes up there in Northeast area to more or less have us create their sanctioning body, because we can go through an Indian tribe, but they have to have their own sanctioning body that's through the ABC. So I've put myself out there to them and say, hey, look, we can put it together. We can get you the judges. We can get you the refs, make sure that they're honest, trained, know what they're doing, and more or less run their commission for them. Obviously, we'd have their chiefs and committees and stuff on it, obviously. So, but it would be another avenue if this were to happen again in the future, another avenue that we could go to that would allow us to do what we need to do.
My wife just got her Indian card. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'm Big Chief Paleface. I need to get on this. I need to get on this boxing commission, man, and rain dance on these motherfuckers, man. I take part. You need somebody who knows boxing, put me on that motherfucker, man. That's nice. You need to look at avenues. I'm not shitting on the state commission. I mean, I'm not in business. I'm not in the promoting business, So yeah, man. Other thing, everybody else is making moves, man. We got to make to the defense of Mississippi, though. Being from New Orleans, man, right there on the Gulf Coast, man. As long as you breaking bread, they got like the worst reading in the fucking country, man. As long as you got money, you bringing revenue, man.
That's about it. I mean, they're looking to do business.
Yeah, Mississippi ain't tripping,
I want
man.
to do it safely. I mean, so long as we can put a fight on, we'll figure out a way to make the game profit and do what we need to do. But I mean, enter
at your own risk. But yeah, Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about it, but we gotta do what we gotta do. I mean, Arkansas was an avenue too. That more or less closed down. And Oklahoma's so messed up. I mean, I don't want to risk it going up there.
Man, that's terrible, huh? The fires and shit. That's Oklahoma, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tying all this together, with the loss. Let me ask you this before we jump into that. Do you think things are going to go back to normal by the end of this year, or we're going to have the same issues running into next year?
No, we're going to have the same issues running into next year. We're not going to be normal, quote unquote, probably until about 2022.
Wow.
Is the lawsuit to get them to move their feet is really what you're trying to do with it, or
to move their feet? It's to recoup what we lost from our last show that they canceled 2 days before the event. Knowing that we had a meeting with the executive directors before, because they had more or less put it to us saying, we want you to cancel. We think it's in your best interest that you cancel your own event. Look, we put everything together. You guys didn't want to help us. You told us we had to figure out the protocol for the COVID stuff. They weren't going to give us any assistance. We had to put it together. We submitted it to them, and they would approve it. And I more or less, this was all happening when Las Vegas was trying to put it together too. So I think without knowing exactly what they were doing, we got pretty much exactly what they were doing, other than having an armed guard in your hotel lobby, or not hotel lobby, but hotel floor. Top Rank had the ability to obviously rent out the MGM, like 2 floors of the MGM, and have guards on those floors to keep the bubble safe. Whereas in Houston, I mean, the hotels weren't willing to give us that benefit. So it was more or less having somebody at the lobby to make sure nobody was exiting the hotel and doing what you needed.
I mean, we was getting tested prior and checking in the hotel, staying put. You was doing y'all. That was the plan, right?
Yeah. The plan, it was going to be no crowd. Everything was secured. Everybody was tested. It really came down that the commission didn't want to pay for their people to be tested, which was going to be the rule. Was they take care of their people.
What's up, dude?
There's only 20 people maybe from the commission with the referees, the judges, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't a huge thing. I was managing it for over 150 people. So I mean, we were paying close to $15,000 for the COVID testing alone.
Wow.
Not counting the all the stuff at site, all the masks, all the other protocols that we were going to put in place. So when we had a meeting with them, they're like, look, we think it may be in your best interest to cancel your event. We go, look, we're ready to go. We have it all done. We did everything you wanted us to do.
The money was spent already.
100%. This is the issue. I told them, I go, look, if you were to tell us tomorrow before noon, I could save all of our deposits. We had media coming out from New York that were going to be on the road. I go, look, you got to tell me tomorrow before noon. If you want to cancel, cancel. I understand 100%. That was right after the June outbreak, after the protests and things like that. I saw it was coming down. I said, look, tell us before noon and I can cancel everything and no harm, no foul, and move on. They waited until 30 minutes before close of business. 6 hours after deadline, people were already on the road, deposits gone, to tell us it's canceled. And it was more or less arbitrary. They didn't need to go to committee. They didn't need to get a vote on it. They could have easily just called up and say, hey, no, that's not going to happen. We're going to issue an official letter to you sometime today. But hey, Joe, call your people and it's off.
Yeah, we had Redmond was scheduled to have that title fight and shit on that show, and yeah, that was kind of last minute. Everybody didn't know what was going on, bro. And then to pull the plug like that was my thing. Which, as a supporter of Next Fight Up, I was like, man, these boys went down to the wire doing everything, and then they cut their feet underneath them. The day before the weigh-in, right?
Yeah, I forget. It was like 2 days before.
That's right.
It was the day before Fighter was supposed to be in. It was the day before Fighter was supposed to be in.
Right, that's what it was. And hell, Alfonso and them was at the weigh-in. They was doing weigh-in.
Oh yeah, that was. I spoke to Felix and all them quite a bit, and
good Lord, bro, they was at all the fighters went down there. What was it, Beaumont or something?
They were, it was out west somewhere. I don't know if it was Galveston or what, but
they was all there ready to jump on the scale, bro. And they canceled it on the scales, man. It's terrible. I mean, I get it. I get everybody saying, this is unprecedented stuff. I get that.
Yeah. So my school, really, I need to bring everybody in because they know that, us as promoters, we're close on the margins anyway. We do these fights really to get you all fights and
right
going. So there's not a whole lot of profit at the end of the day. So, damages wise is what civil cases come down to. So they're going to be like, hey, there's no money in this case anyway, so let's let her go. But if I can get every trainer, every hotel, every venue that we use that actually makes money off of our fights versus us making money off the fights, then it's going to become something.
More like a type of class action type of deal.
Say that again.
You guys keep the industry going. That's what we need fights for, right?
Yeah, but it's definitely a class action. So I have to. Number one, I have to give them notice under the Texas Tort Claims Act. So one, they have immunity, so I have to get through that. And once I get through that, which I'm going to have to claim some sort of civil rights issue, then I can open up the class, and that's when everybody's going to get something in their mail saying you may be affected by this lawsuit since
I was emotionally
trainer, you're a hotel, you're this. So
I was emotionally and mentally distraught by the cancellation of this fight, and I want punitive damages at that's around 1.5 million.
Yeah, I definitely was. That's right.
So as but this happened. This happened damn near in the middle of everything, right? In the middle of the year, middle of the pandemic, and we're into September, and we're looking at the numbers, and those numbers are so skewed, and you really don't know what to believe, but. As we're seeing the numbers somewhat decline and things starting to open up a little bit, and then you see these top, these $1 million companies, the promoters, Top Rank, and the rest of them start doing this show. How's your view? What are you guys thinking at the local level, state level, as far as your, I guess your attitude or your, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for, but you see these guys putting on shows. Are you getting with the rest of the local promoters like Alfonso, like Underwood over in Austin? Because I know you guys work with them. Are you guys in communication? What's y'all's game plan? What's your morale like? Is what I'm really asking.
We're always talking, so we're always having meetings and group chats and things like that. We're ready to go. We have been submitting for dates.
So you have,
yeah. Alfonso is going to be our main event, so we're going to go in with El Tigre. We submitted for September. We've submitted for October. I'm going to have things in there for November and December. TDLR is not budging and not agreeing to anything. So even though like Mayor Turner opens up Houston the other day saying, "Hey, look, we'll have special events at 25% capacity." TDLR, when I question them or send them emails saying, "Hey, look, I mean, this is what we want to do. We don't even want a crowd. I don't care about your 25%. I'm well under that. I'm under 100. You limited me to 100 people at my event working it. That includes boxers, trainers, staff, my production, all of that. I was able to do that." So it was going to be me and Forrest there working everything. And they're not acting. So that's what the lawsuit is. It's like, hey, you got to tell us something. Because right now it's, we're going to have a meeting October 23rd. Okay, well, that's a whole nother month and a half away.
Wow.
What's going to happen at that event? Or are you going to let us talk? Are you going to have some sort of answers? Or are you just going to say we're going to see and wait what the numbers are? Because the numbers change every day.
Right.
So our attitude as promoters are we want to move forward and do what we need to do. If we can't control TDLR, that's why we're going to the casinos. If they're not willing to act, and look, I mean, if I were to go to a casino, it's going to take me 6 months to formulate a commission, get that sanctioning body approved by the national boards to do anything. So that's not a fast avenue. The fastest avenue is to go out of state. So that's where we're at now.
And everybody,
we can't do anything on our own, as you saw with these sparring competitions.
Right.
So
everybody needs it too. You speaking of Alfonso, just from a fighter standpoint, with him becoming top 10 ranked by sanctioning body this year and ain't acting. Well, how long before they take that shit from him?
What's really sick is, okay, after they canceled our event, a week later they have an amateur tournament.
Yeah. We talked about that.
Bro, I went live on Soapboxing because I was able to pull the event up on my TV, right, on YouTube. And so I not even thinking, bro, the week before our pro show got, however long before the pro show got canceled, I'm sitting there filming live, filming the two. Joe come on and say, "Ain't that something? We couldn't fight though." I said, "Shit." I said, "Yeah."
You know what we're doing? We're doing amateur shows now. But you know what? Now they don't want to give us a date.
Wow.
We're gonna take over a national tournament. So there'll be Sugar Burt, there'll be ringside, and there's gonna be next fight up. So we're gonna do 3 or 4 ring national tournament, bring everybody here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait until.
But they won't give us a date. So I want to do the first part of February before Golden Gloves and everything. But there's politics involved in that, and these dates are good for this. And
how much? Without going too deep into it, how much of it is it politics with the commission with TD whatever the hell it is?
Well, I mean, to deal with like Greg and all them, they just kind of put it off to the executive director, Brian Francis, and Brian Francis just more or less ignores my emails until I file other legal papers, and then I get a response from the attorneys. But
that was going to be my question: was sooner or later with it becoming a suit and litigation, you already know sooner or later you're going to get no response from nothing, and then it's just going to be talk to our lawyers, and then you know how that goes.
And a time delay. So we're at the position we're at, which is go out of state until they figure something out and go from there. So it's not a great case, but I mean, look, if I file it not if, but when I file it and get through those immunities portions of it, I'm not going to let it go. There really can't be a moot issue if they open up the boxing again. Okay, great. You opened up boxing, so maybe part of my lawsuit is gone, but how much did all of these hotels lose as a result? How much did the Arabia Shrine lose? Because they charge us a significant amount of money to have that venue space. I had a plan to do a fight every single month. So 1 month would be for what we were going to consider like the elite class. So fighters that have over 12 fights, that are looking to actually start to get ranked. The odd months were going to be up and comers that just want to start building their record. So you kind of see like one would be definitely we're going to see some really close matched fights. Other ones you're going to probably we're going to go see 15 fights that are probably going to end in the first round, but they're local boys, and we're going to see what's the next crop coming up.
So jumping into the lawsuits, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you get into the lawsuit, it gets ugly, right? There's nothing pretty about the lawsuit. You know, there's so many different aspects to it, from the facts, the evidence, and then even down to a person's character, right? Wouldn't it be almost like the last resort? And I'm using this as a transition, you know, to get into the Canelo case.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from a civil standpoint, it's almost like you really don't want to get into litigation. You want to be able to settle this amicably. We want to put on shows. You guys want to put on shows. Just let us put on these dang shows. But if you don't, okay, then things are going to get ugly because we got to get into litigation.
That's why I asked Joe, what's the outcome he's looking for? Because if the outcome is just to get him to move and have shows, that's one thing, but that's not the outcome from what I'm listening to. So, and when you get into the Canelo thing, you got to also look at what's the outcome he's looking for. And
right, because it's not going to be
not filing. There is no lawsuit right now, right? He's prepared. He's getting ready. So it's almost like right now he's in the world. Correct me, lawyer. Right now you're in the world saying, motherfucker, I'm going to file. What we doing? What we doing? What we doing? What we doing? But once it's filed,
is it?
Now it's like, now it is more than just move your feet. Now it's more than just open up the shit.
Now it becomes the state has to get their attorney generals involved. They're going to get outside counsel. They have to have meetings on the budget to say, hey, look, we got a new action filed. This is what we have to divert money from this over to this now. So that's
why it depends. That's why it's very important.
It costs me nothing. It costs me nothing as the attorney that runs this to.
It's very important the outcome you want prior. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to get them to do or not do, or you're just looking for damages?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but I from what I understood, what I heard was, hey, we want to fight. Let us fight. If you don't want to fight, we're going to put this class action suit on. And once it's on, we're gonna go for punitive damages, right? Because the wheels are fucking turning. Yeah.
Well, punitive damages are hard to get. You just can't get them. There has to be significant.
Well, loss, right?
Not significant loss. It has to be significant egregious conduct on the part of the defendant.
Okay.
So that's going to be difficult to get. But like I said, if I can get all of these people on board, I mean, Mikey Garcia had a show that was going to take place the end of July, I think July 7th, up in Dallas, that they canceled too. I mean, lucky for him, he didn't have all his deposits taken from him. But I mean, he was going to have a bigger show. So, I mean, he's got damages. And again,
this move, brother, you're a Texas-based promotion, right? Doesn't mean you can't go anywhere else, but you're a Texas-based entity, and having a quarrel with the fucking state commission, bro, could end up all kind of ways. It depending on if you win, if you file, so I'm pretty sure that you have an outcome in mind, bro. What you're trying to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to always be the disruptor, but that's what we are. I mean, from day one, every single one of our shows has always had some issue with the commission or problem that they're going to terminate our show for some reason, but we've always come through and always have done it. I mean, word on the street was we were going to be able to do our first 2 shows and we wouldn't be in business anymore. But we're on show 11 now after what, 2 years, 3 years, and
How
still going
strong? How strong is their defense, or how the whole pandemic?
Same as the zone.
How strong is that?
They're strong in the capacity. If it was like it was in July, I understand why they canceled this. It was going crazy, especially right in that week. If we're not having a live crowd, if we're able to control it, and there's very, very limited risk of contamination, they just can't say there's a pandemic going on. We can't do it because obviously Vegas is doing it. Obviously California is doing it. Okay, there's been issues, but those issues have a resolution. People are quarantined. They're kept away from each other and resolved. There hasn't been any significant numbers coming out saying, look, because Garcia tested positive for COVID on September 1st, that caused 20 other people to
Fucking die.
And die or something. Yeah. So there's nothing to show that. So I don't think just saying the pandemic is there is enough. There's no force majeure clause in how they run. So that's why is combat sports not open right now in for the TDLR? Why is that the only agency run by the state of Texas that is not doing business?
Now, but your guys, your case is a little different than the whole Canelo De La Hoya, the zone lawsuit, because you guys just want to be able to put on a fight. You guys want to be able to put on a show and perform. What's going on over there is
maybe. Let's let Joe explain it to them.
Yeah, all right. Because over there it's a boxer suing his promotion and the zone.
His promoter and his
I read the complaint. I finally downloaded it off of Pacer, which is the federal site that I can get on as an attorney and see the actual lawsuit itself. So it's 25 pages, goes in a lot into all of the stuff that they were going to make Canelo do. They did not attach the actual contracts, which is a must in a contract law case. You're supposed to attach that to your complaint saying Exhibit A, look at my contract. This is what I had agreed to. This is what they did not do and how they breached it.
That's weird.
My guess is that they're going to ask the judge to keep it classified so that nobody can get into it except for the parties in the case and the judge himself.
Why? Why would you think that? Yeah.
Because they don't want to disclose what he was making on the back ends of things, all that, his minimums, which I understand. I mean, it's
nobody's business.
He's the most popular boxer in boxing. It's something that he wants to keep private so that he can try to make more money in the future or whatever it may be.
Now, if you're an attorney for DAZN, would you object to that?
No, there's really no objection to it. If they want to try to keep it quiet, they can keep it quiet. I'm sure DAZN wants to keep their contracts private as well, so that they don't have other boxers saying, hey, you gave Canelo this. I'm number 2. I'm not going to make what he makes, but you should just cut that by 10%. They want to keep figures private.
As your understanding, what's the case? Lay it out. What's Canelo suing for?
The case is this. Canelo contracts with Golden Boy. I don't know why. I don't know why Canelo needs Golden Boy to do anything. He should have just made the game with his own himself. Regardless, Canelo's contract is with Oscar himself. Oscar is the one that has the contract with DAZN. So Oscar goes to DAZN and says, look, we're going to get you sign with me for all of my Golden Boy events. Can you hear my daughter in the side there?
Oh,
yeah.
Let me pause it real quick and get her over.
We all daddies, bro. That shit don't matter.
Yeah. But what Joe was gonna say is that Canelo is suing because he'll never be Mexico's greatest champion.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'll push it aside. Hey, while we wait for him to come back, I'll push it aside that podcast that you were asking about yesterday. Chavez did ask, and hey, why is and it goes to what Joe just said, and we'll jump back on track. But Chavez did ask, why is Canelo suing De La Hoya? Shouldn't he be more grateful for the opportunities that he gave him? He did ask him that. That was a real question that he asked him on that podcast. But go ahead.
Okay, so
That's fucking retarded.
yeah, Alvarez's contract was De La Hoya. De La Hoya got his contract with DAZN by selling Canelo to DAZN, saying this is what we're going to do. What I glean from it is that De La Hoya promised DAZN that he would be fighting Triple G within the first year of that contract in 2019. Obviously, that didn't happen. He ended up fighting Kovalev. Ultimately, DAZN was like, okay, no problem. We still made a crap load of money off of that Kovalev fight, but where's this Triple G fight? We want this.
Yeah.
And Canelo has no obligation to DAZN to fight anybody like that. His contract is with De La Hoya to fight who he wants to fight within reason. So De La Hoya can offer him Triple G every single time, but Canelo doesn't necessarily need to take it unless there's some unreasonable reason why he wouldn't accept it. Okay, and right now, there's always reasonable reasons not to accept it because he's got 5 other guys he hasn't fought that are all world champions or contenders or something that people would actually want to buy and see. So that's where he's at. So he brought up the fact that De La Hoya is making deals that he wasn't privy to, that he has control over, and that's what's gumming up the works. So now De La Hoya can't put him someplace else because he's obligated to DAZN. So De La Hoya can't go to Bob Arum and make a deal because DAZN doesn't want to contract with Bob Arum. They don't want to contract with PBC to put anything else on.
Which Canelo told his promoter, go get us another fucking network.
Correct.
But what he don't know is his promoter can't get him another network because of the shit he promised DAZN. This shit is real simple. Real simple. And who is gonna fall on? Go ahead, Joe. Explain to me who fucked up.
De La Hoya fucked up.
Big time.
They shouldn't have made those promises. So that's why they're saying, I mean, you probably listen to some other podcasts on it, maybe, I don't know. But getting in, eventually, if this gets to discovery, they're going to ask for all text messages, emails.
Right.
And the jig is up. And
that's what I wanted to get to, right? Because when you get into these lawsuits, shit's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get real fucking hairy. And
this is the problem, though. So don't get too crazy where this is gonna go, because right now he just filed the lawsuit. Okay,
right.
De La Hoya, if his lawyers are smart, willfully got served. So please send me that. I will waive service so you don't have to have the sheriff come out to hand it to me. That automatically gives you more time to answer it. So instead of having to answer it within 21 days, now he's probably going to have about 60 days to answer it. That's going to probably get extended too, because the attorneys start talking and they're going to say, look, I need another 2 weeks to answer this thing because there's a lot of stuff to go through with this. So now your 60 days just went to about 75 to 80 days. So now you just ate up 3 more months of time. So we're in September. Now you're already into the new year.
All right.
And that's before they even answer it. Now, under federal law and state law too, but under federal law, what's going to happen is they're going to raise affirmative defenses, and they may have a motion to dismiss before they even answer the lawsuit. So they could file and say, look, we have these clauses in here called force majeure, meaning acts of God, saying something happened that we can't control, and because we can't control it, we can't do our obligations under the contract. They'll raise that motion right before they're supposed to answer the complaint. That's going to put it off another 3 months because the attorneys have to file those motions. Canelo's attorneys get probably 20 days to respond to it. The court then has to set it for a hearing. You're going to have to brief that hearing. You're going to have to argue that hearing. Then they could appeal that decision after that. So this isn't going to have a resolution before pandemic is over and now we get to start fighting again.
And Golden Boy, at all costs, wants to avoid discovery, avoid that he lied to DAZN what he can do, that he lied to Canelo what he could do by having 2 different agreements. So he wants to, but my thing is this, and this is what I have no proof of. I just think Canelo was out any fucking. It don't matter. He knows it ain't DAZN. So when fucking Oscar gets on fucking social media yesterday and goes, oh, my hands is clean. This is between him and DAZN and shit. I'm going, You motherfucker, you. That's that. You the one who told this dude he could pick his. He's the cash cow. You can pick who you fight, this, that, and the third. But then you told us, oh, we're gonna give you A, B, C, and D. But this kid never fucking agreed to. And so I'm thinking, does Golden Boy play this with all those things you're saying, Joe? With all those things, does he play it all the way down to the wire till he just absolutely gonna get exposed? Till he just can't fucking. He has no leg to stand on before Canelo gets out of the fucking agreement. So all you can do is fuck him a year to however long.
Joe, you see him getting out of the contract, De La Hoya's contract?
No,
I don't see it either. I think he's there.
The benefit of being an attorney is, even though this one is going to be held from the public, is I've had enough boxers come to me with problems with their contracts that I know what Golden Boy's contract is. I know what Top Rank's contract is. I know what PBC's contract is. They
so
all
does
have,
Golden Boy lose their DAZN deal? What happens? What happens?
I don't think it even gets that
I
far.
don't think Golden Boy loses their DAZN contract because DAZN doesn't have anybody else after that.
So do you think they just gonna figure it out?
I think they're going to figure it out at the end. This is going to be a matter of money. The judges know that. How the parties want to play it is how the parties want to play it. So if they get into motion practice, the judge can't control that. But eventually, if it gets to discovery down the road, the judge can say, look, this is about money. Why don't you guys come to an agreement with the three of y'all and figure out what money needs to exchange hands to part ways or move on from this? I don't know why they can't put Canelo over in Saudi Arabia like they did Anthony Joshua and have a fight. And I know it's the gate, but how many oil trillionaires does it take to say, look, your ringside ticket cost $500 million and call it good?
And with him flying over there for AG,
Canelo flew over there. He was at that fight.
Yeah. With him flying over there, he knows they're gonna roll out the red carpet. The only thing that makes sense on the outside looking in is that Canelo's fucking disgusted with Golden Boy. That's the only fucking thing. So at what point does he go, all right, let's make the fucking deal. However, we gotta make it so we can box, so we can figure out what the fuck we're gonna do. Or
He's just a couple steps away from
never
there.
do that.
He's a couple steps away from there because he's already at the talking about lawsuits. Like we, I said earlier, man, lawsuits get ugly and they get into all types of shit. And like Joe said, you're gonna have to get into text messages. You don't want certain shit getting out. How many times did they have to hide the fact, that he was on, taking shit and doing shit that he should. So all that can possibly come out.
And ultimately, it has to come down to Golden Boy because it's the pandemic's to the benefit of DAZN because you don't have a live gate. Now you got 80,000 more people that are going to buy this thing because
it's the perfect defense. It's the perfect defense for not paying Golden Boy the $35 million a fight because of the act of God, right? Because of the pandemic, they got a defense. It's not that they don't got a reason that they offering him $15 million to fight whoever. They got the fucking defense for that.
They just don't have the money in the coffers. That's got to be
exactly.
How much, if any, does this hurt Canelo? Right, because it's a year and a half. How long is it going to be?
I think physically it hurts him a great deal because
he's supposed to fight twice a year, right? Per the deal.
He's got 11 fights over 3 years, so he had to do at least
that legacy shit don't matter. Quit trying, man.
No, listen. Here's the deal.
People got a legacy. Canelo is a welterweight who just knocked out the light heavyweight champion of the fucking.
That motherfucker was 80 years old. Hey, listen.
Canelo is going to be the Tiger Woods of boxing.
Man, y'all funny. Y'all funny. You fucking Triple G guys are funny.
Listen. He's how old is Derek? How old is Canelo?
28, 29.
He's 30.
Yeah.
He has been boxing pro since 15. He obviously had to have an amateur career from the age of 8 to 15. So he's been boxing his entire life. He's 2 knees down, 2 shoulders down. He had to get a sponsorship for medical tape just so he could save costs during his training because he's so taped up to make sure he doesn't pull something else. So.
Oh, he's been kicking ass for years. Right.
Correct. And he's only 30, though. So he's definitely beat up. So he's going to be the Tiger Woods of boxing. He's going to be 35 and retired. That doesn't mean he's not going to be the greatest ever.
And I'm sure he thought this $400 million deal was it. This was my exit.
if you were able to complete that, because obviously it wasn't guaranteed. He doesn't have $300 million in the bank. He had to fight fights to get that.
Yeah.
They couldn't do but 3 fights. Fuck, we on fight number 4, and they already can't do it.
So that's the problem: is you contracted with 2 companies that didn't have the money to pay you up front and guarantee the contract. They were guaranteeing your contract based upon your excellence and your performance.
De La Hoya, thought
the fans already have.
He'll be able to talk him into fighting whoever. Why else would you go on a line like that?
Were there 11 people to progressively get better for him to fight and continue to make that much money? No. There was maybe half of those fights would have been something that people thought, this is going to be a hard fight for Canelo. Where do you go from there? I mean, he already went up to Kovalev, so he had to gain all that weight. What happens if he went back down and it just is a Roy Jones situation where, damn, I had to
easily happen.
I had to get knocked out easily. And he already didn't have like the world's most granite chin. He could get dinged a little bit.
Zap that body and see what happens.
So there was never a guarantee that he was going to make that entire amount of money. So
the lighter he goes down, damn near the most dangerous.
Well, he's 5'7". Why don't he come down to 150, 152 or 147?
Because he could barely make that when he was fighting Mayweather back in the day.
Yeah, that's the point. He wasn't trying to do that when he was fighting Mayweather.
You're 5'6.5", and you gonna fight at 168?
No, he fought at 175 and knocked that bitch out. That's what he did.
That motherfucker. Listen, the problem with Canelo is the fans.
No problem.
The fans,
fucking man. There ain't no problem.
The fans knew he lost.
The fans don't know shit. The fans are dumb. He's a man. That's what he knows.
The second fight, they find out he's taking PEDs, right? So first fight he lost. Second fight, he's taking the steroids. And now he hasn't fought the whole year, and he's gonna get tied up in a lawsuit.
And he's the greatest Mexican to ever fist fight. Right. That's the problem. And y'all mad about it. Don't get mad about it, man. Don't get mad.
You'll never
get race horses. Hey,
ever.
Race horses get fucking. You didn't watch Rocky?
He's like LeBron James.
Okay. All right, so let's do this scenario. Okay, can he fight right now and be able to pull it off while the lawsuit is pending? Yes and no. So obviously he has a clause in his contract saying you are a
absolutely, bro,
certain commodity and you are exclusive to us. Now, Texas, if you were to come to Texas, if we were open, say this is a free to work state. You can do whatever you want to do. We're not going to stop this fight from happening. But obviously the promoters are going to say, we have this clause in our contract. Other promoter, we're going to sue you. Other broadcast company really can't sue because Canelo doesn't have the contract with the broadcast company. But Golden Boy could sue the promoter and say, that's my fighter. You can't fight him, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't stop the fight from happening. That just means that whatever profits you make off of that need to go into a protected account so that after our lawsuit is settled, if I win, you can pay me whatever you lost. Canelo's been through this before because he screwed over his managers when he signed over to Golden Boy. He was under a management contract with, I don't know if it's El Create, but some guy out of Miami. And that manager's like, hey, look, I'm going to let you fight these 4 fights, but I'm going to get my percentage after it's done because I have a valid contract with you that is good. Miami court and the Miami jury found that to be true, and Canelo had to pay that manager out. Okay, so you can box all you want, but be understanding that if you lose that lawsuit, you're going to have damages. So Canelo's got to make that choice. Now, can he self-promote himself, do something down in Mexico, charge people $5 a head to download his Facebook Live and make $50 million? Yeah, he could. And who knows if that's going to get taken at the end of the day, or that's something that they could deal. So there's avenues out there for him to fight. He can't be stopped from fighting. He can just face the penalties after it.
He and from a boxing perspective, and I've told Manny this, I've told everybody who's not a fan. I said, look, man, he's done boxed himself in a situation where every fight's dangerous, man. Because like Manny said, he's 5 foot fucking nothing, and he's fighting these big, strong guys. And at some point, there is going to be only the David Benavidez is left. there is gonna be only these guys, so it's gonna happen. So he's gambling with time, money, the whole 9 yards, and because, like you said, he can't make that 47 and 52 healthy. So from the boxing perspective, he's fucking boxed in. Now with the litigation, promotion, it's a hell of a position.
Or he just sucks it up and says, "Look, I'll be your spectacle DAZN because you want me to fight all these UFC dudes to make money on it. Sure, I'm your pawn. Let me fight these guys."
Mike De La Hoya for your contract.
and that's you know, and that's what Manny was saying earlier about legacy, right? Well, do you go beat up a bunch of fucking MMA guys who can't fight in a boxing ring? And they're not boxers. So do you beat them up and do what? What does that do?
Fight Billy Joe.
Besides paying DAZN their money. That show, giving them their show.
Catch Terrence Crawford as catchweight somewhere, meet somewhere in the middle.
Terrence Crawford ain't gonna go up to meet Canelo, and Canelo ain't coming down to meet him. So how you gonna do that?
I don't know. Hey, make something happen.
I think his mind from a boxing perspective was that 6'8". 6'8" is dangerous. Caleb Plant won't fight him. I think David Benavidez will fight Jesus if he comes down. He put some fucking gloves on. So
he could fight the Charlos. They could do a litany of things that are actually good for boxing, but DAZN is looking at the figures. I mean, they're
DAZN is at 35.
DAZN makes more money off their darts than they do their boxing. F1 they don't care. Their platform, they were trying to take over boxing, but I think they thought, oh, look, all we got is really Golden Boy. We can make a lot more off of the English sport. And plus they got Matchbox. I mean,
yeah, that was their two entities. But you would think, I guess when they had a game of money, they thought if I go buy the biggest boxer in fucking boxing, they just went about it, I guess, the wrong way, maybe, depending on how this goes out. But we'll control boxing too, but it ain't working out like that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So the end result is what? So he gets froze out for how long?
The end result is this gets delayed, and Canelo doesn't fight until May.
Fuck.
He loses the lawsuit on the force majeure because
I agree.
Has no obligation to do anything, and if they're smart, they won't do anything. They will try to figure something out that's never going to happen to say that they're doing some sort of effort to make them look good. But
yeah,
look at every major promoter right now. Who major has fought other than Top Rank is starting to get into it a little bit, but you don't see anybody major fighting that needs a live gate to make those purse amounts, because the 5 gates of $100 million to pay the main event and try to make some money on the event.
Of the 3 entities in the lawsuit, the one that needs to do the most spin and try to come out of it smelling right is I think Golden Boy, bro, because when DAZN is protected from what you're saying, and in the end, Canelo needs to fight. So that'll be fucking 2 years off by next May?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What happens if DAZN comes and say, look, we gave you 10 opportunities to fight in this capacity. You didn't want to take it. So, and we don't even have a contract with you. We have a contract with Golden Boy. We gave you over to Golden Boy. You didn't want to do it. So
what happens with that?
If you want to fight, we gave you those offers to fight, and you don't want it just because you don't want to fight the people we want you to fight. So I think he loses on both aspects.
Per agreement.
Because legacy in my boxing career isn't a legal defense as to why you should win this lawsuit. It's just your contract says I'm going to offer you this amount of fights, and if you don't accept it and it's not a reasonable denial, then we did what we were supposed to do.
So
he got plenty of opponents out there. Plenty.
Does he end up, they fucking turning him down too? What does he what? You think he ends up just fighting whoever they want him to fight in the end?
Yeah, this is going to drag on until May of next year, and he's going to fight. I mean, somebody that he wants to fight, but he's not going to be fighting anytime in 2020. He's not going to be fighting anytime in early 2021. So he's going to have the Cinco de Mayo fight in 2021, and
that'll be one fight in 2 years, huh? Before it's over with.
Yeah, unless they come to a quick agreement in some way. But like I said, I mean, just time-wise, I mean, if De La Hoya did nothing but just answer in the time frame that he's supposed to file legally, he's just eating up 3 months, 4 months once DAZN starts filing motions to dismiss. Because if De La Hoya is smart, he's just going to ride those coattails and drag this out.
Well, you answered mine. I figured the whole out was Canelo just trying to get from underneath Golden Boy, and you saying you don't think he'll make it. So that answered my question. I figured that was the only out.
How much bad mouthing am I willing to take before they agree? But Canelo's the only thing that De La Hoya's got. I mean, he's got a good stable of fighters, but none of them are really bringing in a ton of money. So unless he wants to relegate himself just to doing Tuesday night fights type of stuff.
So he needs to. So what does he need to do? He needs to convince Canelo to do the shit he promised DAZN he was gonna make him do. That's what he needs to do.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, that's what he needs to do. And Golden Boy won't get. You don't see Golden Boy getting held liable for promising DAZN they'd make him do something he's not contracted to do. That's how it plays out.
When was this contract signed with DAZN?
2019 is when it started, so probably late 2018 they were in talks, and then 2019.
After Fielding, right? After the Fielding fight.
I think Fielding was his last fight. Or no, maybe Fielding was his first fight with DAZN.
Yeah, right around that time.
Because Triple G was his last fight with HBO because he had the HBO contract before that.
Right.
So that's why De La Hoya had to get with some sort of broadcast.
So if Golden Boy is not going to be held responsible for having a contract with somebody saying A, and then go and make a contract with another guy saying B, which ain't in A, how does Golden Boy not end up having any responsibility? How are they not held liable for anything? Because
it's not in the contract. Part of your contract is going to be no matter what we talk about here, unless it's written down and we agree to it in a contract, it doesn't mean shit.
Right.
So, same with his agreements with DAZN. So it's really just how much dirt do they want to get on Oscar or Eric Gomez to say you guys do dirty business and don't deal with you anymore. Because they could say, look, yeah, we're going to get our boy to fight Triple G, no problem. And that doesn't pan out. It just didn't pan out. Now we're in this contract. How are you going to come after me? Just because I gave an oral agreement that he would fight this guy? Well, it didn't happen. Sorry. What do you want from me? I thought the whole stipulation was they got the DAZN deal based on a third Triple G fight and 2 fights, 1 a premium. Look, DAZN show if there's any truth to who they think is a premium fucking opponent, they fucking insane. But if that's why they gave the Golden Boy contract based on that fight, how real you think that is? Then it would need to be in the contract written saying you are guaranteeing us that you will fight Gennady Golovkin.
And you don't think that's in there?
No way. How can you agree to what a third party will do?
Well, then fucking De La Hoya ain't really liable either then. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. The best thing De La Hoya can do is just stop back and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm a D-bag, but
I got you. But then he really ain't
stop working with De La Hoya.
That's why he's sleeping good at night. He really ain't in breach either.
So
De La Hoya doesn't have any money. So okay, so now you're in a lawsuit, but Golden Boy Productions probably doesn't have $100 million in his bank account because they pay themselves out their salary. So once that money is in the account and paid out to the employees, it's not gettable anymore. So De La Hoya is not personally liable to anything, just Golden Boy Productions. So okay, I gotta bankrupt Golden Boy Productions. We'll open up De La Hoya Production, not call it Golden Boy.
Changes everything in my perspective because if there's no conflict of interest between contract A and contract B in black and white, what's the fucking problem there?
Okay, so Canelo's going to be out for the rest of the year. He'll possibly fight in May. De La Hoya is going to sleep good at night. He's really not going to be liable.
He really don't have to though. Canelo can just make a fight, right?
How you see the zone making out in all of this? Because they're already in trouble as it is.
Yeah, they're in trouble. I mean, it's in their interest to get him fighting and get people on the platform because they're going to be losing the monthlies. I mean, I'm not paying my DAZN bill.
Yeah.
I canceled that. There's nothing on it.
Me and you both.
So,
Me and you both.
If they want to stay in boxing, then it's in their best interest to get them something. And that's what I'm saying. I don't see why they can't get him over in Saudi Arabia. I don't see why they can't. I don't know what England's doing with live events right now. I think they're doing some sort of capacity. So
wasn't they fighting in?
they were making them offers to say, "Look, will you take a short stack right now, and we'll guarantee you on the back end."
Well, I think that's what they was trying to do, offering them $15 million to fight whoever. But I don't fucking know. Ain't they fighting in Eddie Hearn's
backyard
or something in the backyard? Yeah, they he set up a fucking ring in the backyard. We used to do that in the 80s. So really it's just basically who got the brownie points, what Canelo's gonna settle for as far as a monetary thing, because the DAZN has the perfect excuse to not pay you the $35 million because they ain't got it and no way to make it.
Yeah,
and
like you're saying, litigation becomes combative. Well, if these attorneys are smart, they won't be combative, and they'll get their clients what their clients want, and not what the attorneys want, and try to settle it out quick and figure something out. Because
how long is Canelo's contract with Golden Boy? Do you have any idea?
2023.
So he'll be 34 when he's out. 31. I mean 33, 34.
33, 34, but
I kind of agree with Joe, though. I don't see no 40-year-old, he ain't on the 40 either, though. These is his prime spots right here. He needs to make everything he can make right here.
So I think he doesn't fight until May if they want to fight this out. If they don't, then they'll come to some sort of agreement and say, look, we'll put you over in a different country and figure this thing out. And it's to his benefit. I mean, look, he's already a rich guy. He can sit back and do what he wants to do. He could retire now if he wants to. He doesn't want to because he wants to fight these guys to beat everybody. So figure out a way, get him some sort of percentage off of that. I mean, DAZN's got to have to do something, or De La Hoya's got to do something to make the fighter happy, because without the fighter, they don't have the income anyway.
Is this like a game of chicken for these guys? See who budgets first?
It is. So it's just a matter of who wants to relinquish something. I don't know what the margins are on a DAZN show. I don't know what they're paying out. Obviously, they got to guarantee the site fees and the purses to Canelo, because that's their contract with De La Hoya. And De La Hoya is saying, you got certain minimums in my contract with you, which is obviously has to be about $35 million to meet this $280 million guarantee.
Isn't that right? I mean, do you see any other fucking promotions paying that kind of money?
I mean, PBC would probably be the closest, but I don't think. I mean, obviously, Canelo's contract was the highest ever recorded, so I just don't know why he just didn't go by himself, and like Mayweather did, and said, "Look, I can do this myself." Obviously, Mayweather had Al Heyman behind the scenes and monkeying with some of the strings to make it happen, but I don't know why Canelo gets himself involved with all these contracts and promotional companies that he could easily say, "This is who I want to fight," do it himself under his own banner. He controls everybody he wants to fight, and it's just a matter of making the deal with the other promotional companies. So he can cross every single promoter line that he wants to and fight the best of the best, so long as his attorneys can agree with the promotion's attorneys to make it happen. Instead, you put this third party in there that's only really a middleman that's not doing anything to negotiate the contract, because you have a guaranteed contract anyway. You know what you got to make. So there's no benefit to Golden Boy to go outside of its normal roster of fighters or making little side deals with Eddie Hearn or whomever to fight Rocky Fielding or Billy Joe Saunders or whatever it may be.
And
So
the DAZN doesn't even benefit if they put a freeze on Golden Boy until this thing's worked out, because then they don't really have no boxing outside of Matchroom, right, in the States.
Correct. That's why was Canelo always fighting Matchroom guys up to that point. So
Right.
What message does this send to fighters?
the message it sends to fighters is look at your contracts and figure out everything you need to do, and then figure out who the other guy is. So, I mean, I deal with enough fighters that I look at their contracts and see, number one, they're either way lopsided. So, yeah, your manager, your trainer is doing absolutely nothing to move your career, but you signed a contract that didn't have a guaranteed number of fights per year clause in it. So your manager doesn't have an obligation to even get you a fight. Now all you can do is say, look, I want to enter negotiations with you to do what you're supposed to do and get me lined up. And I mean, if they come to me and the guy's actually licensed, which is the number one reason why I can get out of contracts, is because the manager himself isn't even a licensed manager. If they're in the good with that, and you contracted your ability away that you're not going to get 4 opportunities per year to fight, then you're sticking that contract out, or you got to buy your way out of it. So number one, just don't enter into something because somebody's talking to you. You got to get it with an attorney that knows what they're doing and review it and say, look, this is a basic boilerplate contract, but you want to enter these things. So you want to have a certain number of fights per year. Okay, you want to have a certain purse amount that you're going to make. You want to have in there whether or not you're going to have to sell tickets, or if the manager is going to have to sell the tickets, or what's covered and what's not. So
I just know, I guess, industry standards sometimes at the small level, at the big level, the different. I don't know shit from Sugar Man, and I've seen some horrible fucking contracts that me, as not a lawyer, don't get past 2 pages. I'm like, wait a minute, this motherfucker ain't doing nothing, ain't responsible for nothing, ain't in charge of getting you nothing. But if you get something, they getting their 33.
Yeah, all of a sudden this guy's contract is 33%, and that's got to
be a lot of. A lot of these kids who's fighting, they ain't got nobody, they feel like ain't nobody rooting for them. So if, I got fucking 15, 20 grand in the bank, I'll give them 10,000 of it. They'll sign that shit. If he's an actual skilled fighter, and I got him locked in for the rest of his career, man. And these kids are back against the wall. They got to do it. The rest do it.
And there's unreasonableness on both sides too, because there's a lot of fighters that say, look, I know my worth. I need $25,000 signing bonus or a $5,000 signing bonus. It's like, well,
you may never make a quarter off them, right? You're not gonna get $1 ever off of them, right?
Yeah. So if you're a brand new fighter as a manager, I'm gonna say, look, I'm gonna do 33% because it's gonna cost me $150,000 just to get you into actually making money.
Right.
So I need that 33% to try to recoup what I've expended in you at the end of the day. And then there's a lot of managers that'll take somebody on that's got 12 fights that already can make some money on some fights, or is right at the cusp, that probably should be only making 20%, 15%, because the potential is there and it's already kind of been seen, that I'm not going to do as much work to get you to the promised land of actually making some money in this business. So,
Joe, are you on a phone or a laptop?
I'm on a laptop.
So you can go to your phone and go to the IG and see our live video?
Yeah.
My guy is another guy, man. He's a promoter lawyer, but for MMA, like for kickboxing. Mm-hmm. Not MMA, I guess kickboxing, I think. I may be wrong. But he's also a lawyer and a promoter, and he's out there in California. And he was covering this lawsuit. I seen the video. I didn't watch all of it, but I know he tuned in. He wanted to see what we was talking about, and it seemed like he's agreeing with everything with us. But I wanted to pull him in, but I don't want to pull him in if you can't see him.
Yeah, let me get you on
the IG. Let me pull him in right fast. I want to make sure all y'all. I see man is watching our thing too. Live video. Let me see.
You just turned it off.
How the fuck did I do that? I told you, bro, my boxing guy, man. I'm learning this on the fly. But I told him, I said, man, I'll get you on that, man, because he's in California, and I seen, like, I can see some of his fights. You know, his martial, his kickboxing, I think. But being a lawyer and a promoter, I always hear him talking about like shit the fighters don't do, the fighters don't come through and shit, don't get the you know, physicals and all that type of shit. And so even though it's a different sport, it's still combat now.
Yeah, that's what everybody thinks I do is when everything falls through on these smaller fights is to just go after all these boxers, but it's just not worth it at the end of the day because the commission doesn't do anything to start with. Right. And then I'm going to spend $500 suing a kid that doesn't have $400.
That don't have a dollar worth. Yeah, you can't get up and go. You go back to job at Walmart. What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see all of you guys. Well, I can see mostly.
Hold on, let me.
The middle. I believe his name is Joe. How you doing, sir? I'm George.
Let me see.
Now I can see more of all of you.
Yeah, man, that's my partner over there, man. He owns the gym. He owns the gym, and we manage fighters. I bill him. Joe is a promoter and lawyer here in Houston. They got one of the biggest, I guess, the biggest promotions here in Houston. But I was telling him how you're a lawyer and a promoter, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm the only kickboxing promotion with an active pro license out here in California, and I did MMA for about a year before that, but I'm not really like a huge fan of MMA. I like kickboxing better. I like boxing better, so I did kickboxing.
Okay. You've been watching the show, huh? What you make was we pretty on par with how you look at the lawsuit, or no, or what?
You know, I look at it kind of the same, but there are definitely some differences that I'm seeing.
Like.
So for me, I mean, you know, it's all hypothetical, right? It's all theoretical. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they settle, like counsel says, like Joe said. Maybe who knows what's going to happen? But for me, it looks to me to be an anticipatory breach of contract. You know, it's not a breach of contract yet. He's saying it's an anticipatory breach of contract. And when that happens, I don't know how it works in Texas, but definitely in California, you have the duty to mitigate damages, which means that Canelo, if he's the non-breaching party, again, this is all according to his complaint, because like Joe says, we don't have the contracts to look at.
Right.
But it means that he's got the duty to minimize the damages. And, you know, what other way is a fighter going to minimize damages other than fighting, right? So, I mean, my understanding of mitigating damages is, I mean, he could go fight somewhere else. So if you look at the 10th cause of action in his complaint, he's saying that he wants a judicial determination that allows him to fight for another promoter and will allow him to you know, work with another broadcaster. So, I mean, it looks like his attorneys really laid out the foundation for this whole anticipatory damages / mitigating damages, you know, theory. You know what I mean? So let's say he does, you know, there's this purse bid happening on September 21st with, it looks like Al Heyman's going to be involved for the fight between Canelo and Yildirim, the Turkish guy. Yeah. So let's say Al Heyman, you know, wins the purse bid. And, you know, he pays Canelo $10 million or whatever it is for that fight. Well, I mean, it doesn't mean Canelo is still not entitled to whatever he's supposed to make between, you know, him and that Golden Boy contract. It's just that he'd be mitigating the damages, right? Instead of getting $35 million, which according to him, he's owed by Golden Boy per fight for the next 10 fights. If let's say, for example, Heyman pays him 15, Golden Boy's still on the hook for 20. You guys kind of see what I'm saying there?
What you think? Joe, can somebody freeze that? Can he not fight or what?
Well, like I said, I mean, Golden Boy can try to freeze it, but if the federal judge says, yeah, you can go fight, we're going to let you do that. Golden Boy can still come back afterwards and say, look, we would have done it this way, that way, and be able to make more money off of it. So it's just going to cause more litigation and more money to the attorneys at that point, really. But I agree. I mean, he does have a duty to mitigate. It's just, will he be able to mitigate? And is it to the point where
There's a little bit of a delay.
is it to the point where him fighting for $10 million is going to cost Canelo more money?
Yeah.
In the end, with the action, they'll be sued and stuff. Is what you're saying? It'll cost him more.
Yeah, because everybody wants, like he was saying, he's guaranteed the $35 million. Heyman's only willing to offer the 10 or the 15 or whatever.
Right.
Well, does that money go into a coffer pending the litigation at that point? Because then nobody's really making any money. You just risk your life. You just risk your life. And you all have to go over to De La Hoya.
It's going to take a lawsuit regardless, maybe.
Yeah. But look, I mean, it's just like promoters now. I mean, I deal with Top Rank, matchmaker, somebody's calling me every week saying, look, your guy can't make what you'd normally make off of this fight given the circumstances. Well, given the circumstances, did the punches get any lighter? Does the risk of getting hurt get any less? Because I don't really want to fight Elvis Rodriguez for $5,000.
So if I'm looking at my phone so you can see me and that takes me off the screen. Let's say Canelo goes, a federal judge says he could fight for Al Heyman. He goes and they pay him $12 million.
Well, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. The federal judge might not have to say that, right? Because, like I'm saying, here in California, you got a duty. Because I think this is the reason the attorneys laid out the complaint the way they did. They made it an anticipatory breach because he's saying, hey, they haven't breached the contract yet, but I'm anticipating that they're going to breach the contract. They're not going to give me the $35 million they promised because the DAZN is not going to pay the $40 million license fee, and that's where the money's coming from. So you have the duty to take reasonable steps to mitigate the damages. I don't think he really has to sit around. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think he really has to sit around and wait for a judge to tell him, okay, yeah, you can go and stop the blood flow. I think he can go and maybe take a fight if he wants. And I think by him including in this lawsuit that he wants permission to fight for other promoters and for other broadcasters, he's kind of setting this whole thing up to make it look like, look, I'm trying to minimize damages for everybody. Look, I'm going to fight for somewhere else. This way, De La Hoya doesn't owe me the full 35. Do you guys kind of see what I'm saying there?
Yeah. Well, what Canelo's attorneys should really do is to look into whether or not the contract with De La Hoya is illusory, meaning like an illusion, because he never had the money to pay in the first place. He was depending on these broadcast companies to foot the bill. What were you really promising? Everything you were promising, you couldn't fulfill.
And Joe makes a great point there, because that's where I see the problem with this whole situation. I think, me personally, this is what I put on the YouTube channel. My problem with this whole situation, and Joe, you'll understand this terminology, is there was no meeting of the minds, really. Because if De La Hoya is telling Canelo, and this is what it says according to the complaint. I mean, all we have is the complaint. We don't have the contracts. But if De La Hoya is telling Canelo that you make the final decision as to who you fight, and De La Hoya is also telling the DAZN in a separate contract that you get to approve who he fights, well, was there really a meeting of the minds there? I mean, this could invalidate the entire thing, right?
That's where I was confused, Joe. That's where I was confused at. If one contract says basically Canelo gets to say who he fights, and then another contract says the DAZN gets to say who he fights, final say. Well, who the fuck? Somebody's fucking up, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I mean, if
Joe is saying, and then to what Joe is saying, that's compounded because De La Hoya doesn't have the money to pay that $35 million. He's getting it from the $40 million license fee that the DAZN is giving him. So it's kind of like that contract depends on the other.
And then hoping that there's a live gate, because the live gate brings in about $100 million or whatever.
Right. No live gate fucks up.
Right.
Well, I tell you what, fella, I think this is informative for everybody, man. Because being a trainer / management by having to be, and my partner and having both lawyers, because we argue in the case that who knows, they may drop a bombshell down, 2 weeks from now that changes the whole fucking thing. But I think it gives people insight on this thing, and it makes the fans look and say, shit, I was rooting for Canelo like he was the fucking Yankees. It doesn't work like that.
That's why you got to show some respect to Mayweather Promotions, because even though he doesn't fight his guys, it's probably because he doesn't want to get in over his head like De La Hoya.
Well, it looks like Canelo, De La Hoya, and DAZN got themselves a little Mexican standoff, and we'll see. Time will only tell how this thing's going to end. Hopefully, it'll be in a boxing ring soon. Because I know us boxing fans and everyone in the business is ready to get back to it, man.
Same, bro. I appreciate you coming on, man. We need to do some more shows, man. I'm not gonna pretend I know kickboxing, but if you need a boxing perspective, I got you.
I love boxing, so I'm down to talk boxing anytime. Joe, I wanted to ask you something, because when I got on, I heard you talking about potentially filing a lawsuit against the Texas State Athletic Commission, or whatever your equivalent is over there. I wanted to ask you, so they allowed you to go through the motions of putting together an entire event, and at the last minute, they told you that you had to pay for COVID tests for everybody? They didn't let you know that ahead of time?
Oh, no. We knew ahead of time what it was going to be. They didn't think that we were going to be able to pull it off, and we did. So we were ready to go. They were supposed to pay for their people's tests, and they weren't ready to go. They were just going to practice social distancing.
Oh, man.
So everything changed at the end, and then they told us, look, in the environment, we don't know if this is going to be safe, and you should cancel your show. I said, well, I think it's going to be the safest place in Houston to be that weekend, because I know we're all going to be tested negative.
Didn't like that, man.
And how long before Joe, Alfonso and them, they was at the weigh-in before they pulled the plug on them, right?
Yeah, that was in March. So that's when when the rodeo got shut down. So that was like March 13th. They got shut down. We did the show the week before at the baseball stadium. This was July. So this is the week after the protests, and people started popping positive at that point. So they said it was a risk, that they didn't want to run the risk of picking up a hospital bed for somebody else in need and taking an ambulance for somebody in need. Is like, look, that's all private stuff. I mean, we've never had, I think out of 11 fights, we only had one person carted out from a show. So the likelihood of somebody getting hurt in this one was negligible. And we have a private doctor there to suture anybody up that needed suturing. So on a risk of 0.01%, they canceled their show, and without reason.
We have another, I guess the other biggest promoter locally. The fighters were at the weigh-in, bro, getting on the scale when they pulled the plug from them. Yeah, man.
That's a lawsuit begging to happen, if you ask me, man. That's crazy.
Well, El Tigre's was horrible, but I mean, like, again, that was March 13th. So that was right when everything just started getting shut down. So there was no COVID testing. That was just a regular show. I mean, this one was $30,000 extra of extra expense.
Yeah, Joe and them was actually preparing for doing a little bubble. I had a fighter on the card. We was gonna go into the hotel and isolate and all that. So they were doing everything they were supposed to do.
I wanted to do one out here, man, but the California State Athletic Commission, probably the least business-friendly state on the planet. They wanted to pay not only for everybody's COVID test, they wanted me to pay for their own officials' COVID test. They pulled their attorney on this meeting, and he was saying that according to like the state's employment laws, that those guys are not my employees. Those are your employees. You guys are independent contractors. The fighters are independent contractors. Why are you making me pay? They wouldn't change their mind about it. So at least you guys don't have to pay for theirs as well.
Well, I appreciate y'all, fellas.
All right, thanks for having me on.
All right, y'all, man. What's another episode?
He's in the chat.
Say it again.
I wanted to give Serge Estrada. He's in the chat. He's a cut man out here in California. He's in the chat saying stuff in the chat. So I just wanted
I know of him. I know of him. We friends.
Having me look.
Appreciate you, brother. We'll line something up later too.
I'm here.
All right.
All right, brother. All right, Joe, man. Well, we appreciate you coming in. Taking time off this Saturday morning. I think we learned a lot.
Yeah, as usual, bro. Thanks for helping us out, bro. I think people there ain't many places you can go to get this kind of information.
So keep an eye out. I mean, we'll have an announcement this week about what we're doing over in Mississippi. We got, that we have the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame or Combat Sports Hall of Fame going on too. So boxing, kickboxing, martial arts, BJJ. We're doing that this year in December.
Nice.
I'll announce the recipients of that in the next 2 weeks. So lots going on, but I just wish boxing was back to normal in Texas so we could put some shows on. But we'll get there.
If the show can take part in that Texas thing, let me know, man. In any capacity, promoting whatever. Doing the show.
Definitely. Like I said, we'll be announcing it. Maybe we'll do another podcast to over what we're going to be doing for them.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate you, Joe.
All right, take care, guys.
Fight up. All right, bro.
No.
Peace.